I'm not gonna lie, I kinda did green eyeshadow today because I was hoping when I recorded this that it was going to reflect the galaxy behind me, and that didn't work. What's shaking bacons? Are you ready to talk about things that terrify me? Part 2? Yes? Let's go. Before I do so, just like I've mentioned in the past, I have linked the music I was listening to as I wrote this video down below in the description box in case you want to listen to it while I talk. I know some of you really like that. Some of you prefer not to have any music while I'm talking. Either way, it's pretty cool. Make sure you check it out if you like to have some kind of background ambient music. And let's go ahead and talk about the things that terrify me. Fun. It is finally time to talk about the Fermi Paradox. The first part of it anyway. AKA the horrifying reason that we may not yet have had extraterrestrial contact. The reason I didn't do this video sooner is that in order to fully discuss the Fermi Paradox, we first had to talk about the Kardashev scale and civilizations, and we had to talk about the Great Filter before leading up to this because those are also involved with the Fermi Paradox. My introduction to the Fermi Paradox actually came by way of a terrifically horrifying science fiction series that you may or may not have heard of. I call it the Dark Forest Trilogy by Cixin Liu. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. I will never be able to say names right. I am so sorry. Though it's actually called In Remembrance of Earth's Past, the Three-Body Trilogy, but that is one heck of a mouthful, so I just call it the Dark Forest Trilogy after the primary theory that the books revolve around. And that title makes the story seem really flowy and nice when it's not, so I'm not going to call it that. So I own this entire series. It's super, super good. It starts with the three-body problem. You move on to the Dark Forest, and then it concludes with Death's End. I highly recommend this if you want to be terrified. If you guys are interested, I can always do like a kind of book talk video where I talk about this series and why I love it so much. I think it's one of the best science fiction pieces that have come out in the last couple decades. I would say it's up there. It's definitely like an instant classic. I would even put this on the level of like Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov. That's how good I think this series is, and I really recommend reading this if you have the time and the patience, because they're nice and thick and they're fun and they're terrifying. The Fermi Paradox is on full display within this series, which is something that makes the hair literally stand up on the back of my neck. I wanted to learn more about it. So this is how I kind of began to learn about the Fermi Paradox. So to give some context for the Fermi Paradox, let's first discuss like our little galactic area, right? So of course, everybody knows we are in the Milky Way. Milky Way is our galaxy, and in our galaxy alone, there are estimated to be anywhere between 100 to 400 billion stars. And those have been observed. There's probably more than that. And each of those stars could potentially represent another galaxy that it itself could contain, hypothetically, another 100 to 400 billion stars. Those are numbers that the ordinary brain cannot even like normally grasp. Like, these are mind-boggling numbers. I think one of the most cool things I have ever seen is one of the Hubble images. The Hubble pointed its telescope at a patch of just black sky, what we thought was black sky. And then when you look at that photo, and I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see, there are just galaxies, like so many galaxies. And the longer you look at that photo, the more you see, and it's just insane to me. I mean, needless to say, there's like a heck of a lot of stars in our galaxy, and there's a heck of a lot of galaxies in this universe that we live in, that we know of. In layman's terms, making things sort of kind of conceptually available to our brains, that would be like for every grain of sand that exists on this planet, on Earth, there are approximately 10,000 stars in existence. And that is nuts. That is insane. And with that many stars, there is a decently high probability that there are, at least estimating conservatively, 22% of planets in all of those systems could potentially be like Earth and somehow have the perfect conditions that could have facilitated life or even possibly intelligent life. The caveat being there is that as far as we have assumed, that planet has to be like ours in order to support life, which is again a big assumption. And I've talked previously about how I think that as humans, we tend to have an anthropocentric view of ourselves and our role in this universe because we are our own species, and humans have traditionally always thought things revolve around them. So I don't know necessarily that a planet would have to be just like Earth or would have to have the same exact conditions in order to support life. But if we just go off of that assumption alone, that's the estimate. So now that we have the background in this, who is the Fermi of Fermi's paradox? Who is Enrico Fermi? Enrico Fermi was a physicist who was awarded the 1938 Nobel Prize in Physics, and he made major contributions to the fields of statistical mathematics, quantum theory, and nuclear and particle physics. He was also part of the Manhattan Project, and he was a professor at some very important universities. The guy knew his stuff, right? He was very, very, very intelligent. Fermi, knowing what I just said to you about our galactic neighborhood, basically posed what I think is a fairly logical question. Based on the probability of existing life and the fact that in our own Milky Way galaxy, there should theoretically be thousands of civilizations, there should be some indicator of another civilization besides ours. There just should be. Just in terms of the statistics of it and the possibilities, there should be something other than us that we've seen or heard somewhere. In very common vernacular, the Fermi paradox basically is saying, where the heck is everybody? Our sun is relatively young by galactic standards, right? So this is where the Kardashev scale comes in. Our sun is young, so our civilization is very young. If you look at a timeline of human history, human civilization starts really close to the end of the timeline. We have, on the timeline of life on this planet, we are just starting to squeak in at the end. With our young sun and our young solar system, we are theoretically a young civilization, and there should also theoretically, with the discovery of older stars and older systems, there should be other older civilizations just based on probability alone that are in our galaxy, let alone in the rest of the universe. So where is everybody? There should be younger or equal to our age or even older civilizations that we are hearing from or seeing appear, and there's just nothing. We have organizations on Earth that have spent decades searching for signals from anything out there. Like, for example, there's SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which was founded by Carl Sagan and Frank Drake, whose entire existence is devoted to searching for any signs of life out there besides ours. And so far, there has just been absolutely nothing. And even if there was a higher order of galactic civilization, and the thought or the theory being that if it was a higher order, perhaps they would communicate at a level that was just above what we were capable of understanding, or perhaps it's a level that we wouldn't even recognize as communication. I think the common example is an ant would not understand the human building a superhighway next to their anthill. The ant may not even notice it. The ant may just see the superhighway and think it's a new terrain. The ant may not understand what's happening around it because it's at a level that it's just not equipped to understand. And that's very possible that we wouldn't be able to perceive a civilization that was that high of an order of magnitude above ours. However, we should still be able to see or hear any signs from a civilization that's at least equal to or lesser than ours. And of course, probability and statistically speaking, they should be out there. And yet we haven't. And all of the probes that we've sent and the messages we've sent into space, as far as we're aware, haven't been answered. There is absolutely nothing. Nothing. This is just to begin with. The Fermi paradox by itself is terrifying to me simply because of the silence of billions of galaxies and the implications that brings. Namely, why is there such a deafening silence? That's got to be saying something. And the implications of that are scary. The fact that we haven't heard anything is scary. I want to talk about some explanations that people have come up with trying to answer the Fermi Paradox or think about why we haven't heard from anything. But I think that at that point, I think I'm gonna have to record another video because they will be like way too long put together. So in the next Science Talk video, I want to talk about some pretty terrifying hypothesized theories, including the ones that are discussed in Cixin Liu's trilogy, and some explanations for the Fermi Paradox. Make sure you stick around if you're interested in hearing more about these. I'm going to be talking about that next time. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button to let me know that you guys like these topics. I really enjoy talking about them. This stuff is so fascinating to me, even though it's so scary. It's just really cool to think about and talk about, and I really enjoy it. I think we're living in a very technologically and knowledge-enhancing, exciting time period. And even though I do wish I kind of lived in the future so I could see where we are and what we've done and where we're going and if we've ever heard anything, I think it's still really exciting to see things moving forward and evolving now. If you want to support the channel and support what I'm trying to do, make sure you check me out on Patreon. I am still over there giving extra content to my patrons. You can start at just $1 a month if you choose. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing amazingly, and I will catch you later.